Hello everyone, my name is Dracula Morphy, your cat vampire knight VTuber. Today I'm reviewing the game Rise of the Ronin. A game I was really excited for as a samurai fan. I love playing samurai and ninja games like Shinobido, Tenchu, Way of the Samurai, Samurai Warriors, Nobunaga's Ambition, Ghost of Tsushima, Total War Shogun 2, the Shogunate mod in Crusader Kings 3, Like a Dragon, Ishin, and many more. So you bet I anticipated this game's release, and I just beat the game, so I wanted to share my thoughts. If you want the short of it, well, then I really like the game. Okay, so Rise of the Ronin takes place during the end of the Edo period in Japan, starting with Commodore Matthew Perry's arrival in Japan up to the Boshin War, which is already a plus for me. I like it when games are based on history, because I can learn more about the characters and the events by looking it up online as well as enjoying the game itself. But right now, let me talk about the thing that a lot of people are sort of focusing on, and that is the graphics. I will say yes, the game doesn't look as graphically good as Ghost of Tsushima or even some way older games like maybe Infamous Second Son, but I guess it just doesn't bother me because I've played the latest Team Ninja games like Neo 2 or Wolong, so I already knew what I was gonna get. And don't get me wrong, I understand where people are coming from with the graphics argument. Games are hella expensive nowadays. If you're paying full price for a PS5 exclusive game and the game it looks like it didn't need to be exclusive to the next gen consoles, I can understand why your standards might be high like that. Being able to buy a game, especially nowadays, like the latest video games, especially the triple A's, nowadays it's a privilege. That being said, I also get people who say graphics isn't everything because this game is fun as fuck, and I truly believe I got my money's worth. But before I talk about the gameplay, I will say that the game does look beautiful to me. It may not be Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima levels of graphics, but this game does capture the beauty of Yokohama, Edo, and Kyoto during this time period. And I've seen some YouTube channels that focus on Japan content, like the Shogunate. He praised this game over Ghost of Tsushima because while Ghost of Tsushima does look insanely vibrant, Rise of the Ronin gives a more realistic look of Japan compared to Ghost of Tsushima, which looks too good, like a travel brochure you'd see of Japan. So it's really up to you if you think the graphics are worth it or not. As someone who loves samurai games, I would have bought this anyway. So I admit I have some biases there, and maybe that's why I can overlook some things about this game. So keep that in mind as you're listening to me review this game, because I might be giving this game a pass because I love samurai games. But it's really up to you. I'm gonna try and showcase this game as much as possible fairly, and you can come up with your decision. Now, the gameplay. If you've played Neo or Wolong, but more of Neo because that's the samurai one, then that's exactly the gameplay here, minus all of the yokai, the supernatural Japanese creatures. And also, this game isn't a Souls-like. Yes, it has Souls-like features like Neo had, like the parry and dodge-based gameplay. You can rest at certain areas to refill your health and replenish your healing items and various other items. But this game has difficulty settings. You're not forced to have to get good. You can play on easy or on normal like what I did. And if you want a more difficult experience, then you can play on Twilight difficulty, or you can beat the game and unlock Midnight difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty there is. I can't confirm if Twilight and Midnight are just as hard or harder than Neo, since I don't specialize in Souls and Souls-like games. I mean, I beat Elden Ring by abusing the hell out of summons, and I beat Neo 1 by spam throwing those talisman things at the enemies. That's pretty much my Souls experience. I'm sure there's someone who's more suited to tell you that. Like, about whether this game's like a Souls game in terms of difficulty. But that's not what I specialize in. But for those who want to know how the gameplay is, you have a wide assortment of melee and ranged weapons to choose from. You get 2 each for melee and ranged, and what I like about Rise of the Ronin is your melee weapons have different fighting styles, which you can learn by just playing through the story or fighting enemies in the map. Speaking of the map and the open world, it's a pretty standard open world. The world itself is beautiful, as I've mentioned earlier. The activities, I would say, are okay, they're pretty mid. The best part of the open world is killing enemies and further revealing what's on the map because of it. There are mini games, but I didn't bother with them. It's your standard shoot at this with your gun or bow, or shoot at this target with your horse, or a gliding mini game, which were fun the first time around, but I didn't do the rest afterwards. I found the side missions with the generic characters and characters you can bond with. I found the ones, the random generic ones, to be boring and pointless. But the ones with the major characters, the ones you can bond with in game, I enjoy those. I wish the side missions were just purely for the characters you can bond with in the game. And yes, you can bond with characters in game. I've mentioned it already. You can bring them on missions for you to control or fight with, and even romance them.
けれど、それが叶わぬ望みであるとは分かっておりんす。やはり猫になってしまいんしょうか。愛する人にすり寄って。ほら、こんな風に。情けを交わした後のお別れは余計に切のうござりんすな。必ずまた会いに来ておくんなし。でないとわちき猫になって消えてしまうかも。
I have multiple romances in game, to the point that some of my lovers called me out on it and asked me to break up with the others. For some reason, you can either agree to that or break up with the person calling you out on it. But if you say yes to it, you don't actually have to follow through with breaking up with your other lovers. They don't ever bring it up again, and you can just continue to grow your harem. And the characters are based on real life history. People that lived and participated in that era. Not just like the Japanese, but the French, the Americans, the British too. And you can bond with all of them. Characters you may have seen in other samurai games like Way of the Samurai 4 or Yakuza Ishin, like Sakamoto Ryoma. Which is a perfect segue into my biggest gripe of the game. The story. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the way this game was advertised and marketed was that you had a choice to choose to be either pro-shogunate or anti-shogunate. And yes, you certainly do get to choose, but it's not to the extent that I was hoping for. It doesn't matter. I was hoping that I could change the events of history. But unfortunately, this game is one of those games where your choices don't matter and there's a set path for the player already. Fuck! Rise of the Ronin story follows real historical events as much as possible, and you can't change that. Now, I was aware of this because before even starting the game, I watched the Shogunate's review of Rise of the Ronin beforehand. He played the game from the perspective of choosing a side, which meant he only played quests and only interacted with people on one side. You can probably guess which side he picked from his channel name, but that was a big mistake to play with that perspective. thank God I watched his review first, because you have to play the story with the mindset of playing both sides. You play with both the Shogunate and Anti-Shogunate people, and you interact with them all. That way, you can actually have some sort of attachment to them, to those characters, and honestly, you get more XP and equipment by doing so anyway. I had a better experience with the story because of playing with that mindset, but I still felt so fucking annoyed when I make a choice in Rise of the Ronin, but the game would just undo whatever I did. A character I spared would just get killed anyway. I wanted to change the result of the Battle of Toba Fushimi, but the game was like, nope, we're following history. Here's a big example. I was given the choice on whether me and Ryoma join the Shinsengumi or not. I chose to join. You know, we get to killing some Chosu traitors, but Ryoma suddenly feels bad that we're killing all of his former friends and decides to save some of the anti-shogunate people, and he brings along me. So we end up killing Shinsengumi people after we attack people from the Chosu side, the anti-shogunate side. So I don't know if I'm still in the Shinsengumi or not. I can still talk and bond with like the founding members like Okita Soji, Hijikata, fucking Kondo. But later on the game, the game tells me like I was only in the Shinsengumi for a brief time, and I'm not in it anymore. But you know, I can still interact with like the members of the Shinsengumi. Like they're still cool with me. But also, like, some of them will aggro in the map. But also, anti-shogunate people also will aggro you in the open world if it's like some random side mission or event. So, which side am I on? And even later on in the game again, like, the part of the quest, the main quest line is you're supposed to infiltrate the Shinsengumi ranks because Katsura told you to, like, huh? What? So, am I in it or not? I was so fucking confused. I feel like the story and writing suffered as a whole because of this game giving us choices. You know, you get to pick between Shogunate or Anti-Shogunate, but the game is mostly going to pull you to the Anti-Shogunate side because of your bromance or romance with Ryoma, and because the fucking, I can't even talk anymore. The Anti-Shogunate was the historical victor. So, like, what's the sense of having choices in the game if you wanted it to be linear and historically accurate anyway? But there's also times where I don't even know if the game wants to be historically accurate or not. Like, you can romance Sakamoto Ryoma, but you can't romance Ryo Narasaki, who was his real-life wife. But you can romance Kusaka Genzui's wife. You can save some people from dying from illness or saving them from getting assassinated, but you can't change the outcome of the Boshin War. And to top all of that off, the main plot of the story, I didn't give a shit. So you're the Veiled Edge. You create two characters, and early in the story you pick who you want to control. And the other is your Blade Twin. You're both part of this Kurosu clan? A group of like I don't know, fucking orphans that look like stereotypical ninjas that want to get revenge on the shogunate. But you and your twin get separated after you get beat by Commodore Perry and an even more stereotypical ninja. And you go through the historical events of the end of the Edo period, and your main goal is to find your Blade Twin. I couldn't care less of my Blade Twin because we get separated so early in the game. You don't even get that much about your past with your Blade Twin, because the only flashback is your village getting incinerated by the shogunate. I felt like the Veiled Edge plot just felt so meh, and it doesn't help that the game is trying to balance between trying to make you care about both Ryoma and your Blade Twin, that in the end I was just lukewarm with both of them. Of course, I like Ryoma more because I spent more time with him in game. You get to bond with him and play missions with him. But that immediately goes out the window when I just want to join the fucking Shogunate and this fucker keeps dragging me back to... What I would have done to fix this is to merge, you know, the plot points of Ryoma and the Blade Twins. You know, you make their roles as one. Like, you know, just erase the Blade Twin and have Sakamoto Ryoma be your main like partner in game. Like, you know, maybe Ryoma could be her childhood buddy, and now you're both Ronin in the midst of Japan's westernization and the growing tensions of like the imperial side and the shogunate side. And of course, Ryoma's gonna be on the anti-shogunate side. But the question is, which side would you pick? Will you abandon your best friend and join the shogunate, or join him in dismantling the shogunate once and for all? Just do away with that veiled edge crap. I keep forgetting I was the veiled edge because I cared more about the historical parts of the game. I know I probably ranted so much about the story that you might think the game sucks, but I really love this game. For me, what brings it up is the setting, the use of real-life people from the time period, the combat, and the fact that you can create your main character. I like having myself insert in a game and role-playing, even though the game is taking away my sense of choice. But I also love roaming around the open world, and there are enjoyable parts about the story, especially when it's not, you know, you making a choice and the game just undoing it. There's like fun action. There's moments of bonding with characters. You can even pet cats and dogs and you have your own house. That's what makes the game great for me. I'd say the ups of this game are really good, and the only thing weighing Rise of the Ronin down is choices not actually meaning anything. Also, I just have to add that the fucking your people from both sides, the shogunate and the anti-shogunate side, are hilariously forgiving and chill when you side with the other side. And you even get to fight some of these people in almost lethal combat. I mean, you guys are fighting to kill each other, but of course, the main character wins and he doesn't kill all of the historical characters of the game. Just so, you know, the game won't have to deal with like a what-if scenario if this guy died. But also you can like save like maybe 1, 2, or 3 people from dying in the game. Like there's one really huge and important character that you can actually save from dying, which I will give the game props for that. And then there's 2 others who die from illness, and you can do like their bond mission so that you can find the cure for them. Well, not necessarily a cure, but it seems like the game is like implying that their life is extended because of the medicine that you gave them. So yeah, there's that. Just wanted to include that because I might be leaving out some context. And yeah, people are so funny with how forgiving they are in this game. Like, I tried to assassinate Townsend Harris in this game, and then in like a couple missions later, you encounter him again, and he's scared at you at first, but then he just opens up and gives you important information. Like, what? If I had to rate this game, it would be an 8/10. Gameplay carries heavily, but the story is preventing it from reaching GOAT levels. So yeah, that's my review of Rise of the Ronin. I tried to avoid like making too much comparisons to Ghost of Tsushima because I feel like, yeah, they're both open world samurai games, but you know, they take place in different time periods. Like, Ghost of Tsushima is based on the first Mongol invasion of Japan, which happens centuries before Rise of the Ronin, because Rise of the Ronin takes place during the end of the Edo period. So I just wanted to avoid that as much as possible. Plus, I feel like if you told someone who was an enthusiast of like modern warfare or like the world wars, like if you treated World War 1 and 2 as the same thing, it would probably annoy them. So that's why I avoided making Ghost of Tsushima and Rise of the Ronin comparisons too much. I only like made a point about the graphics and right now the setting. So yeah, that's my review of the game. Thank you so much, and bye.
He asks what service you would rather be given.
If I were to remain in the Japans,